Hello, everyone. We're here with another amazing therapist. I want to say thank you so much for saying yes to this crazy project. Um, I want to start because I started with you in regards to how can no one know about you, but I wanna start with let's start with your story. Well, first, how do you want to introduce yourself to everyone who is watching this video?
Oh, I'm Meyleen Velasquez. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I'm Latina. I'm an immigrant. I have a doctorate in social work, married to a man. I have a small dog. That's my
That's your intro. I love
that's my
this.
introduction.
Let's start with your story. What brought you into the field of mental health and what inspired you to become a bilingual therapist? Because you could have said, I'm just a therapist, but you're like, let me do it in two languages. What inspired you? What brought you into this field?
Yeah. I trying to think because I was doing an activity the other day and we were talking about what we wanted to do or be when we were children.
Yeah.
Um, And if you ask my mom would tell you that when I was, you know, 5, that I would be asked, like, what do you want to do? And that I was like, a psychologist. Feel, I feel like I stayed steady to the mental health field. Um, but there's many different parts of my story that have brought me here. One is our interconnectedness as humans and our need for each other.
Mhm.
Um, I'm somebody that has survived childhood trauma, abuse, neglect. And I think that part of my survival story um, is one of the biggest drivers to being in the field and supporting others.
Yeah.
When I started, I wanted to work with individuals that had substance use disorder and folks experiencing domestic violence. Domestic violence was a big part of my story upbringing. Um, and through my journey, I gotten really interested in working with children.
Mhm.
Um, Always been in this search of where can I make the biggest impact.
Yeah.
And I think that really the search is the self-healing search, the self-healing journey, the journey to understand my story, to understand how some of the things that happened to me could have happened to me. Um, and the more that I've understood about intergenerational transmission of trauma and transmission of strength, the more I've understood about white supremacy, colonization, right? The more that I've been able to really hold more compassion and understanding for some of the things that happened to me, that happened to my mom, that happened to my grandmother,
Yeah.
right? And how all that impacts who we are with the pain that we've carried
Yeah.
and with the strengths and resilience that we've carried because we're still here.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's a bit uh, of my story. Um, when I was, let's see, I came here in 95. Um, I'll share the story.
Uh-huh.
Um, my mom always shared one thing with me, which was you're going to study in the United States. I am the eldest of a sibling group of three
Uh-huh.
by 7 and 9 years, which in our culture has a very specific cultural context
Yeah.
of being the eldest and that far apart in age. But that was maybe one of the most grounding things that I had in my upbringing when there was so much chaos, so much pain. It was, you're going to study in the United States.
Yeah.
And so we came here in 95 um, and, continued to focus on like going to school. My mom was a single mom. We came, my mom, my brother, my sister,
Yeah.
and that's it. And so survived as best as we could. Um, and I had it in my head that I was going to go to college.
Mm.
I was going to go to college. And I remember going through the motions when I was in my senior year. And so to add a little spice to the mix, I was undocumented.
Yeah.
And so my senior year, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to college. So I'm like applying and looking at financial aid packages, and all the while with a little voice or kind of, ghost elephant, whatever you want to call it, in the back that's like, how do you think you're gonna do this?
Yeah.
Because we were poor, poor, poor. Um, to the point that there were times that we didn't have like $3 for milk.
Yeah.
Um, and you can't get financial aid if
Mm.
you're not documented.
Yes.
Um, and so just continue to go through the motions. And 3 days before I was about to move into the university,
Hmm.
um, we got uh, our temporary residence card.
Yeah.
And it was um, just such a wild experience, like everything,
Yeah.
the dreaming and wishing and getting it
Yeah.
felt surreal.
Yeah.
Um, the journey,
Mhm.
for my mom to walk out of the immigration office with the
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 card.
temporary cards,
Yeah.
um, the the fact that, something that happens to many of us is that we get scammed. Obviously I was a kid, so my mom got scammed multiple times through this journey. You think it's going to be impossible, that you're not going to be able to get it, and you suffer and you're scared. And so my mom comes and she gives me a temporary card, and it was literally, Liliana, a piece of cardboard, poorly cut. It was supposed to be, I think, a rectangle, but it was all like,
Yeah.
just, they just put it in the paper cutter or whatever,
Yeah.
with my picture stapled and a stamp.
Yeah.
And so you're looking at this thing that means like the world,
Yes.
that opens up so many doors. And you're like, this is it. This
Yeah.
is it. This was the fight. This was the pain. This is the culmination
Yeah.
of all this. And you're definitely grateful, but also you feel so crappy.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that you're naming that because in the country of the narrative in either social media or whatever we consider news now, it's not as easy. So for most of us who migrated, for most of us who struggle waiting for something, that is like, wait, I thought that I have arrived. Like once I got this piece, I thought that that's something, and it's just something that you're like, this is it,
Yeah.
right? I love that. Thank you for sharing that because I was like, the populations that we tend to work with, they tend to talk about, which brings it to, this is part of the strength that you bring, as you bring your own culture, not just your family culture of how your family had this dream and brought you here, and the narrative that they give you, but also the life experience that is showing up for your clients because of this duality that you have carried with your story. So I'm wondering, what other ways does your own culture, either family culture or ethnicity culture or whatever other culture you want to name, um, in language and life experience, how they keep showing up in the work that you do as a bilingual therapist?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to, it's hard to think about it because it's so ingrained in
Yes.
the fabric of who we are,
Yeah.
right? It's hard to like pinpoint, is it this or is it that?
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. One thing, I believe a lot in the power of lived expertise, right? And that there's nothing like lived expertise, and that you can hold compassion, and um, you can believe someone's story deeply, but there's something else that you get, a different sense of insight that you get once you've lived through something.
Yeah.
And so when I think about the experience of being an immigrant, when I think about the experience of pain,
Yeah.
I think for those of us that have experienced deep, deep pain, it puts us into a place where we're more sensitive to understanding other aspects of the human experience that also involves pain.
Yeah.
It's different, but it gives you a little bit of a lens
Yeah.
where you're able, where I feel like as a therapist, I'm able to see things and to validate things that are disenfranchised.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Because we don't go into questioning. We
no.
know what they're talking about. And I think this is something I think that's why I'm so passionate about this project, which is a lot of the therapists, because they don't have this lived experience, doesn't mean that they cannot work with, but it
Right.
means that we don't question. As soon as as soon as you were sharing your story, I was like, I know what you're talking about. I know the
Mhm.
ache of the fear of not only can I do this, the fear of what does that mean, someone knocking on the door, being the oldest as well. What is the fear of, like, how am I gonna, because we're hustling thinking like, how is this gonna happen? And like, it's all these little layers that come in, that when I work with clients who are either DACA recipients, or who are migrants, and now we're working towards who am I, because I thought I was this identity piece. Those are things that we do not question. We
Mhm.
automatically
Mhm.
know what it's like, and showing them the idea of, I see you, this is a safe place, because I know what it means to you, for you trusting me to share that with me, but also I get it. Like, I
Mhm.
totally
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Another piece that's coming up for me that's like, so, like I get it, right? It's the virginity culture
Oh yeah.
in immigrant families, and for those of us that were born abroad or who are first generation, and so I have clients that are like, oh, I'm thinking of moving in with my partner. And
Yeah.
it's like the first, I'm like, yep. So let's talk about how parents are feeling
Yeah.
about that. Let's talk about what comes up for you when you think about moving out of your family home. Or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's such an obsession, and it is really um a piece that I don't see as much
Yeah.
in other cultures, like cultures that have been here in the US for longer amounts of time.
Yeah.
Don't always, and it may be just like the populations that I have worked with. Um, but yeah, this obsession with like
I-
female virginity, with the virginity of the girl.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Which is, you're absolutely
yeah.
right. So this is why I'm always asking in trainings or in consultation, when they tell me like I'm working with Latinos, or I'm working with, I was like, what generation? Because
Mhm.
that centers me into, like, where are we starting, right? So you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. When it's like third generation and later, they're so removed that it's easier to negotiate this. But when you're a migrant first generation, even sometimes second generation, that is
Yeah.
integrated. That is part of the culture that you grew up with. So like,
Mhm.
let's talk about it, so that, like, let's role play, and what is it
Yeah.
that you need to go back, because you live in two different worlds. Your parents live still in one. They come with
Mhm.
these identities. So how do we help you manage this? And again, those are one of those things that, unless you're bilingual and you have this life experience,
Mhm.
it's hard, because automatically
Yeah.
most people go into, oh, your family's so enmeshed. And I was like, actually, no.
Right, right. And how to, right, your family's a mesh, and let's think about how you can separate yourself completely from them, which is also not culturally appropriate. I don't think it's,
Mm-mm.
unless there is, significant ongoing abuse and toxicity,
Yeah.
um, this sense of alienation and individuality that's present in larger society here
Yeah.
can end up doing a lot of harm, I think, to most of us,
Yes.
right? Then we don't learn and develop the skills to really have a voice
Yeah.
and to be part of a group.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it does a lot of harm, I think, to Latino communities, to who are having some trouble with family dynamics, to be told or encouraged, or in some ways, whether it's said openly or not, and some of the other things that happen,
Yeah.
that the thing that they need to do is to separate, that the thing that they need to do is set firm boundaries
Yeah.
first, you know, first. You imagine being at a family dinner and telling a parent, I'm going to put up my boundaries here.
Now, first of all, the first
It's
time
like,
that
mira, esto quién se cree.
they'll talk to you if they're nice, because I can see something else coming. But I'm laughing with you because the first time that a white therapist told me that, and I was like, I'll tell you what, I'll pay you if you go and tell my mom, because I will sit down and see how you
Yeah,
two are
we'll
gonna
see how that
interact.
goes.
I'll
Mhm,
pay you.
mhm.
No, I love this. What is something? Because I mean, this conversation is so rich, and I'm wondering for either clients or potential clients, or even other therapists who are thinking of referring to you, what is something that you wish that more people knew about mental health? And specifically, right now, we're talking about Latinos in the Latino community, or something that you're very passionate about that is shifting and how you're approaching therapy.
Yeah, I think something that I wish more people knew is that stigma of mental health is protective.
Yeah.
It comes from a time and place where we were harmed and are continued to be harmed by the systems that have been set in place to really control us.
Yeah.
Um, when many of our um, grandparents, aunts, uncles, great grandparents, parents are thinking about mental health services, or thinking about el manicomio.
Yeah.
And that is a very scary place
Yeah.
to think about and to be. As somebody who is part Cuban, many clients that I have worked with have been through Mazorra
Hmm.
or know of Mazorra, an asylum down in Cuba. And so, like that reframe of, this is an attempt at protection. This is not, a bias that is there because, you know, just because it's there,
Yeah.
and we don't believe in that. It
Yeah.
comes from a very real place
Yeah.
where, you know, you also can't share your story because you don't know who's going to hear your story and what's going to happen. And
Yeah.
for those of us who have families that have come from oppressive regimes,
Mhm.
there's an additional danger
Yeah.
uh, to people knowing your truth,
Yeah.
that you don't know what that truth is going to be used against you, whether it is, you're going to end up in some room, whether you're going to end up as a political prisoner, whether somebody's going to rob you
Yeah. Yeah.
because they know your truth,
Yeah.
or kidnap you,
Yeah.
right? And so, how we understand these social discourses through the lens of history is really, really important. And it's important for us to know as therapists, and it's important for us to share this information with clients,
Yeah.
because many of us don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know our histories,
Yeah.
because most of the histories that we learn are whitewashed,
Yeah.
um, because not sharing the truth in a family, like accurate, truthful stories, it's
Yeah.
also protective.
Yep.
When I think about right, I have a doctorate in Meyleen Velasquez, right? We all do. And so when I think about my story, um, I think about how there's so many secrets in my family.
Yeah.
It is really, really hard to navigate, like, what is actually happening,
Yeah.
um, whether it's little or small. And
Mhm.
so if I step back and I think about, what it was like for my mom, for my grandma to have been ripped out of Cuba,
Yeah.
and this idea of, like, we can't look back.
Mhm.
We can't look back. Borrón y cuenta nueva. You
Yep.
look forward.
Yeah.
There's no, you don't sit with the grief
Mm-mm.
because you chose to leave.
Yep.
So there's no grief, and you got to keep going.
Hmm.
Um, you don't tell the real story because you got to protect everyone,
Yep.
right? Because I think it's again the grief
Yeah.
that's there, the mourning that people are running away from.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think most of a big part of my own healing has come in through the lens of understanding not only like my internal dynamic, but how colonialism, how imperialism really impacted how I experience life,
Yeah.
how my loved ones experience life.
Yeah.
And I think in when we think about therapy, I think we have to think about the micro, right? Like what's
Yeah.
internally, the meso, the family, the neighborhood, and then the larger macro
Yeah.
systems and how those interact with the story of the person.
Yeah.
Um, because if we want to treat depression in anybody, but in a Latino individual, we need to understand what else is present. What are the other ghosts
Yeah.
that are informing the story, the ghosts and also the positive things that
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
informing the story, because it gives us a different lens.
Hmm.
Yeah, at least for me, it's made it easier to. I mean, I'm still in my own. I'm still in my own healing journey. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm still trying to heal
Yeah.
from experiences with family, with my family of origin. But I think it's given me more access to compassion.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for all of us who are therapists, we're trying to make sense and explore, integrate, and at the end come into how do I humanize every family member for what they had to do to survive in order to coexist. So in the telling and when you mention the secrets, right, it's not secrets to have secrets, it's secrets out of survival because we have family members who are back. And if we talk and we don't know, how are they going to be at risk? And if we're here, depending on our status, we're also at risk. So there's so many layers on everything that we do and everything
Yeah.
that they had to do to survive. And I think part of your journey and my journey on doing our own work is not only how it's helping us to be better therapists in order to truly see our client and see where they are in this journey, but also in the part of humanizing our family members, each one
Yeah.
of them, right? Because we can see it through the survival mechanism of
Yeah.
this is what you did. This is the baton that you took and like put on the floor. This is the one that I pick up, and this is the journey that I am, and so on and so forth. So it's a beautiful journey that you're illustrating for anyone watching this video, which is like it's not easy to describe this and the amount of work that we do because in through the Western world we tend to pathologize everything into so basic concepts that in our world is so complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Like our history gets pathologized, our survival gets pathologized. The resources that we use to survive gets pathologized.
Yeah.
Um, I think about many. So I grew up without a faith. So
Hmm.
I'll share that. When I was around 15 years old, my mom became Christian, and so the household became Christian. It's not a faith that I connect to any longer. Um, but I wanted to share how um, when I was maybe 16 or 17 years old, I had a dream, and I really do believe in the power of dreams.
Yeah.
And even through the Christian faith, like we still sat around and shared dreams
Hmm.
um, in the morning. And so I had a dream that I was back in Cuba, and I was out at this park, and there were all these women, and all these women were dressed in white, and there were all these birds in cages. And there were like rituals and things being offered. And one of the women said that she had made a vow that every woman who had come in the lineage would have been blessed.
Mm.
Um, and I remember sharing that dream. And again, right, like this lens of pathology was like, oh, this is demonic. This is so evil. And
Yeah.
it taken me years to think about this dream as a representation of strength,
Yeah.
like intergenerational strength,
Yeah.
promises that were spoken for me even before I was conceptualized in someone's mind and body.
Yeah.
And like just the power of faith, whatever the faith of these women, which I'm assuming might be Santeria because it was
Yeah.
Cuba. Um, and like how powerful that has been in my life,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm like, I can attribute some of my survival to that moment and some of those promises that were made.
Yeah.
Um, but because of colonialism, we feared it
Yeah.
instead of leaned into the strength and the connection.
Yeah.
Um, and how many of us have been taught to fear that which has healed us
Yeah.
and that which has soothed our ancestors
Yeah.
and brought blessings upon us.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, I love that you're naming this and sharing this because we're in similar journeys right now as I'm going back. I love that you named that, which is for you is um I just forgot the word, which is uh
Santería.
santeria. Thank you. And in
Mhm.
in my culture we call it curanderismo.
Mhm.
Um, so we all have them. We just call it different names
Yeah.
in every different country. But the idea on how colonial and religion, specifically Christianity, when they got involved, when they were in bed, that's how I put it. Like when they got in bed, in
Mhm.
order to like all of us got this message of we have to be ashamed and that's bad and that's evil when in reality there was so much wisdom that we had and that we did. I love that you are naming this for everyone out there who is watching this, which adds to the strength that you bring into the therapeutic work that you're doing because we're able to name it. So even with clients, when sometimes they bring something and we name something to see, like, will this resonate with you? And we start these conversations with them in regards to this. So I'm wondering that actually it's a really nice pathway to go into. Have you ever, or can you think about one moment? And I know this is going to be difficult when I ask this question, but can you think of one moment that reminds you of why this work matters in regards to you serving the Latino population? Is there like one case that comes to mind, like one memory in regards to how all of this that we're discussing, like, oh yeah, this is why I do what I do?
Um, you said it was going to be hard, but it is hard. I don't I don't know if obviously protecting
Yeah.
client story. Um, but I was working with somebody that was maybe fifth generation.
Hmm.
Um, and they felt so far removed from their culture that
Yeah.
even when we were doing the intake, they were sharing, they were like, oh, like, guess I'm white, but this is my background. And so the background, like super, super,
Yeah.
super Latino, like
Yeah.
as Latino as a Latino can be. Um, and so rediscovering some of that identity.
Yeah.
Um, And as we rediscover some of that identity, one of where our conversation went was in the ingrained racism
Yeah.
within their family
Oh yeah.
and the racism against themselves, because again, this is like
Yeah.
Latino,
Hmm.
um, and racism against other Black and Brown communities.
Yeah.
Um, and so the more that they identified with their identity, the more trouble that they had sitting with the pretty open racism that their family um, would speak and share and, openly condone.
Yeah.
And so part of our work was reconciling these two,
Yeah.
understanding racism in our communities, colorism in our community,
Yeah.
um, understanding internalized oppression. And I remember that they were like pretty hesitant to have these conversations. And I've worked with other therapists that have said things like, I don't go there unless the client goes there. I think that anything that is brought into the therapy space is up for grabs.
Yeah.
Um, and I encourage people to not collude with racism.
Yep.
So I did share that with the client. And that's, part of our work focus
Yeah.
on this because I said to them, um, this is going on. And if we're going to work together, then I'm going to invite you to address this.
Yeah.
And if we're not going to work together, then I'm happy to provide some
Mhm.
referrals, but, really honoring the way that I work,
Yeah.
because I'm not going to collude and be like, okay, we're not going to talk about this part of you when this was so connected to their identity.
Yeah.
And that if we hadn't opened up the conversation about like, what are my identities as a therapist?
Yeah.
And this is what I'm bringing, how about you? Please, share, anything about your background. If
Yeah.
we hadn't kind of started with that invitation to bring in all of who this person was, I'm not sure that we would have gotten to the conflict, right? The conflict of who I am, who I need to be for others,
Yeah.
um, and understanding, right, that the separation and the separation from identity of origin and the connection with like a white identity is survival,
Yes.
right? Is survival and it's privilege,
Yeah.
right? Because we can do it.
Yeah.
So there's privilege in that. Um, and then how do we sit with all these different pieces, right? And what a gift it is to be able to walk that journey with someone,
Yeah.
to see all of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I often say that therapy is really all about holding up a mirror so that the person can see who they are,
Yeah.
and we're helping them to wipe away all the fog
Yeah.
that people and systems and all the BS that
Yeah.
says this is how you should be, or
Yeah.
work hard to become this. Like you are okay as you are.
Yeah. Right. And by bringing that comment, and then you get to decide if we go here or not. But I'm aware that this is part of, right? Like it's an invitation
Mhm.
versus therapists who are not comfortable with these parts work. Um, they don't bring it up. So then how will clients know that this is a safe place where actually I can go and integrate this if I choose to, depending on my capacity? And what is the capacity I have today in order to do so? So beautiful, beautiful example of those moments that were like, this is why I do what I do. Okay, so let me ask you with our last question, which is one of the reasons also why I decided to do this, which is how do I name the unique strengths that I bring into my work that I cannot just list in my resume? They're just not visible. Look at the reach of the conversation that we were having. How would you list that in your resume when we even have templates on what to put in our CV? Right? Like it's not like you go and no, there's
No,
categories that they told you that you have to put. So, what are the unique strengths? The unique strengths that you bring into your CV that it's not visible for clients or colleagues to know.
oh my God. Um,
Not easy questions, right?
yeah, like I, I think one, my lived experience,
Mm-hmm.
and I think all of us have stories,
Yeah.
right? And the power, I think like my own capacity to lean into my stories,
Mm-hmm.
not as not as the answer, but like as a parallel
Yeah.
to what might be happening for the other.
Hmm.
Mm. I think I'm reflective and curious. So I'm always interested in knowing what is it that I'm missing? What am I not understanding?
Hmm.
What else might be happening?
Yeah.
How do how do I know?
Yeah.
And then is that accurate? And then how do I know that it's accurate?
Yeah.
Um, I think I'm also interested in helping people reconnect with these other parts of themselves and with ritual
Yeah.
and with spirituality and whatever that means to them,
Yeah.
whether it's connected to their sense of I,
Hmm.
whether it's connected to the practices that are supporting them. And I think of that as part of therapy, not separate from therapy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
This is rich.
maybe
And
that's it.
again,
Yeah.
I love that because you are talking about how do I add my life experience? How do I add my cultural knowledge? How do I add, right? Because it's so easy just to put clinical expertise. But what you are describing, those values that you're describing, they're really important and they have never been given space in our CVs. And it's not something that our clients and even our colleagues benefit from knowing in regards to the
Mhm.
deep work that you do in your clinical setting. Um, Thank you, Meyleen, for
Thank you.
sharing with us your gifts. For all of you who are watching this video, just know that we're gonna have her information below the video. Please reach out to her if you are interested in her services in regards to therapy. If you are a clinician, have her on your referral list. If you're calling her for consultation, you need to pay her. Do not say, I want to pick her brain. You can pick her brain, but you need to pay her for her time. As she has so much wisdom, and I'm calling it now, and everyone, because I was like, stop asking for, let me take you out for coffee or let me pick your brain. You need to be paid for your brain. And so, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Until next time.